Good afternoon and welcome to this Dutton Dunwich regular council meeting. It is February 12th, 2025. It is 5 p.m. and I will call this meeting to order. Tara, please.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Pemberton, that the meeting of the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich opens at 5 p.m. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, and Councillor Dreyfus, if you would do the land acknowledgement, please.
We will begin by acknowledging the land on which we gather as traditional territory of the First Nations people who have long-standing relationships to the land, water, and region of southwestern Ontario. We also acknowledge the local Lower Thames watershed communities, which include Chippewas of the Thames First Nation, Oneida Nation of the Thames, Munsee Delaware Nation, and Delaware Nation of Moravian Town. We value the significant historical and contemporary contributions of local and regional First Nations and of all the original peoples of Turtle Island, North America. We are thankful for the opportunity to live, learn, and share with mutual respect and appreciation.
Okay, thank you. Item 4, adoption of draft minutes, and we have 2 meetings there. We're going to do that with one resolution, Sarah? Okay. Oh, sorry. Any comments, errors, or omissions? Okay. The draft minutes from January 29th and February 5th will be adopted as presented to council. Clerk Tara, are there any items not listed on the agenda?
There are none.
Okay. And we have Dillon Consulting with their flow rate study. And I see Vander is on. Vander and Jason, are you both with us?
I'm here. Sorry. Good afternoon, everybody. Jason is gonna try and connect up right here. Yep, we're here.
Okay. Well, whenever you're set, I see Jason just got on. So you have control of the PowerPoint at your end then, Vander?
Okay. I don't see the PowerPoint. Do you guys put it on and then I control it?
Either I can flip the slides or you can share your screen and then you
screen?
can flip the
Okay.
slides. Yep.
All right. Let me just. All right. So I'm just gonna move the laptop then. Sorry. Let's see. Share. It's on the request. I'm not sure if you guys got it. If it doesn't work, I'll just tell you to move to the next screen.
Are you sharing yet, Bender? I'm not seeing anything.
It's not. I clicked on shares. It's saying request from you guys first.
Okay, we did allow it on our end, but I can pull it from my email.
Sorry about that, Tara. It's only 5 or 6 slides, so not too many to advance through.
Oh, it's letting me now do it. Hold on.
There you go.
Okay.
Can you put it in, like click the little thing in the bottom?
Yeah.
Yep, there we go.
Perfect. All right. So we're starting with this one. I'm just giving a little background information about previous work that Jason and our team did. Initially, we did the calculation for the sewer for the Dutton based on MHCP design guideline and using Dutton design capacity, which is in the liters per capita per day with 365 liters per capita per day. We did this calculation and theoretical, these are theoretical calculations. The peak flow was 44, average flow was 13, And,
Vander, sorry to interrupt. You're only sharing the cover page right now.
oh. Okay. I thought it moved. One sec.
Yeah, now you're on well,
Yeah, I'll just do it from here. It's a lot easier. It's not letting me share. Can you guys see the sheet now?
no, we're seeing your project-wise screen.
Oh. How about now?
Yep.
That's better? Okay.
Can you do presentation view from there?
Yeah, I tried it. It just,
Doesn't work. Okay, well, yeah, that's better anyways. They can see the right slide now.
all right. All right, so sorry about that. Just recapping again, we did the previous calculations for the municipalities' flows based on theoretical calculations based on MEC design guideline and Dutton design capacity of 365 liters per capita per day. We calculated peak flows of 44 liters per second, average flows of 13 liters per second, and the total flows of peak flows plus INI of 64.4 liters per second. These are just theoretical calculations based on Dutton design capacity guideline. So based on these numbers, we found out that 24 of the 30 major sewer trunks, which is the trunk that goes north-south and then on east-west in Shackleton, over 24 of those 30 are reaching 100 to 300% capacity. So they're already over capacity based on theoretical calculations. So at that point, we were also asked by Dutton to design a pumping station for all the flows coming into the system, and that's being pumped to the wastewater treatment plant. So we requested that we do flow monitoring, and to do the flow monitoring was for 3 reasons. We wanted to confirm what the actual average and peak flows of Dutton current flows based on current population. We also wanted to confirm the per capita demand, which is the 365, because we were thinking it might be more than 365, it could be way less than 365. So we wanted to know what the actual numbers based on real data. And we wanted, based on using this, we could also confirm there's an inflow infiltration problem coming into the system. So these were the calculated values. This sheet is showing actual flow data that was observed using the flow monitoring system. So we had four flow monitoring meters installed in 4 manholes just upstream of the pumping station, because this pump station receives flows from 4 separate manholes directly. So we installed those. The meters would record the water flow rate and the elevation in those manholes every 5 minutes. We would receive every week from the contractor who installed the equipment, the weekly flow data, and we would add them all as a total flow coming into the pumping station. And I know this says here it's February 22nd, it's actually to the 2nd. So from the end of November 26th, all the way to February 2nd. So this is the data showing the diurnal curve for flows coming in and out, between low flows, average flows, peaks on a weekly basis every week. And you can see they're all similar except this one event when we had the rain event. So this is the rain flow coming into the system. So this is just a snapshot of those few months, November, December, January, so around 3 months worth of flow data. From this data, we've calculated that we've estimated that the peak flows, the standard peak flows without any rain, without any INI, is around 24.5 liters per second. So this gave us the highest flows on a normal dry day. The dry day, it's good we did it in winter because a dry day means there's no flows coming in from anywhere else. There's no inflow and infiltration. There's no melting of snow or ice or anything else like this. So this is a dry day in Dutton. The peak was 24. Average flows around 5.5. This is based on 24 hours throughout the 3 months, 5.5. And the peak flows with INI was 34 liters per second. So this is just giving us now the actual data compared to the calculated data we had in the previous sheet. So based on this data, we went back and recalculated and confirmed what the actual liters per capita per day is for Dutton. So based on that, we calculate based on the data that we received in those 3 months it's actually 200 liters per capita per day, not 365 liters per capita per day. So this is the comparison between 200 and 365. We know that the 200 is based on a winter low flow dry days. We know from different municipal and different designs that the summer dry flows are slightly higher. So because there will be more showers, more use of washroom, more use of dishwashers, washing machines. This is not additional flows going into like swimming pools or car wash or anything else like that. This is just actual usage of the people of the population. So we did a sensitivity analysis between 200 and 250. And we chose 250 as the highest because we compared to the nearest municipality, I guess a large city. Because I'm from London, so I used the London design guideline. They use 230 liters per capita per day. So this is in between the 200 and 250. So based on that, we calculated. I have the numbers here, but here's a table just giving you the. Oh, I'm on the wrong sheet again. Can you guys see it? Yeah. So the calculated based on a range of 200 to 250, the average was 7 to 9. Our observed number was 5.5, so 6. So some were slightly less than the numbers, which is okay. Our peak numbers, the calculated range was 24 to 30. Our actual peak observed from the monitoring is around 24.5. So it's good. It's somewhere in between. The peak plus I9, which is the highest flows, we've calculated theoretical numbers 43 to 49 based on the area that was monitored. The numbers were only 34. So this number is actually lower than what we expected. We were expecting somewhere higher or somewhere in between. So this is just telling us right now there isn't additional INI that we're not expecting. So this isn't a problem that you have a break in the line or roof leaders are connected to sewer or storm connected to sewer together. So this is just telling you based on calculated and observed what the numbers are. Because we did theoretical calculation for the capacity of sewers at 365 liters per capita per day, and we already established that we have 100 to 300% overcapacity in most of the pipe and most of the pipes. We redid all the calculations again at 200 and 250. At 200, like I said, these are the numbers. We have 22 sewers instead of 23 are at 100% or 300. So we have one section of sewer that is slightly better in the 200. In the 250, nothing changes. We're still at over 100%, 100 to 300%. So this is telling us right now, based on observed data, these numbers that we have in observed numbers, we're already reaching capacity or exceeded capacity based on the theoretical numbers and existing numbers. This is just establishing what's observed and what's calculated. If you guys want to stop me anytime you want question, we can stop as well, and I can continue. Okay.
Yeah, just continue. I think we'll take questions at the end, Bander.
Okay, all right. This one is just showing you the map of Dutton of the existing uses. If you just, I don't know if you can see my mouse moving. These are the trunk mains we're talking about coming in, bringing the wastewater to the pumping station. This is the one east to west, and then the one coming north south. So I don't know if you can see the yellows or the blues and the purples. These are all the major pipes that are stressed out over 100 to 300%. Everything else are just lateral, small connection to the major sanitary sewer. The major sanitary sewer, like I said, only these ones here.
Yeah, it's the one highlighted in yellow or orange, Bander. That's the trunk
one?
that's all
Yeah.
over capacity between
Okay.
100 and 300 right now.
Okay. All right. So we continued and we wanted to see what's the effect of a 12-hour period. So I calculate the numbers based on average over the 24-hour period, and we saw in this one here the oscillation up and down and the one rain event and what it looks like. So I took this area here, just the one day where we have the highest dry flows with a peak in it. So I'm just seeing what the system looks like, how it's reacting, how the pumping station was reacting, what it sees in that 24-hour period, in that 12-hour periods. The average, I know it says 24 here, but this is 12 hours. So the average in 12-hour periods from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. is 10 liters per second. So this is just that 12-hour period you're running almost constantly all the time at 10 liters per second with a small drop in flow coming in and then instantly goes back to 10. This is average in 10. Your peak is the one we talked about, the 24.5 liters per second. The pumping station, pump station number one, the one we're designing an upgrade for, is only rated for 21 liters per second. Normal design guideline, when you're designing a pumping station for a flow rate, you take half the flow rate, that's your flow coming in. You need to design your start and stops based on half the flow coming in. This will allow the pumps to be able to rest, to start and stop, not too many times, more 10 to 15 times an hour. Anything more than that, the pump is always either constantly turn on and off, or constantly on because it doesn't even reach the point where it needs to stop. So based on this 12 hours, your pump is running 12 hours straight nonstop. There might be some small stops here and there, but this is on the driest day, one of the driest days that we've recorded that Dutton sees in winter. No additional flows coming in, just the municipal use, the home use and businesses. So this is just saying that we know that the pumping station exceeding its capacity. It's seeing more flows than it should, based on this just the 1-day event here. So then I compared this 1-day event and the normal operation of the wastewater treatment plant with this pumping station and this 1-day flows coming in. So these numbers in this table here, this came from the wastewater treatment plant monthly data collection that goes to the MECP at the end of the year. So on December 9th, these are shown in cubic meters per day. So I kind of converted them here. So on average, on that 9, it's discharging from the wastewater treatment plant. It's slightly higher than what the average is coming in, and it's on average. And daily, it's peaking at almost 3,000 cubic meters a day, or 34 liters per second. So it's already seeing the flows coming in at max peaks and higher than what the average we're seeing at the wastewater treatment plant. In comparison, this wastewater treatment plant, as it's designed, it's only rated for 6.5 liters per second on average and only 20.6 liters per second on peak. So if you follow me here, the peak discharge, this last column here from the wastewater treatment plant, the recorded flow rate, every single day, it's peaking at higher than what the wastewater plant is actually rated for. So this is an indication that you already passed your design for the plant and you needed to do an upgrade at the plant. So just based on the December 9th day, based on just the month of December, recorded numbers from December, you're already at 97% of your plant's rated capacity. This just for the month of December. And this is we're not even talking about what could happen in the summer flow rate. We're probably reaching closer to 100% at that point. But this all depends on what we see in the data. This is the data, the most recent data that we have. So then I compared this as well. We have a 2023 full year capacity. So this is the entire year of 2023. This is what went to the MECP yearly report. On average, I can see here the average. I don't have the other numbers. The average is 528. If you go back to this last slide, the average is 558. That's what the plant is rated for. The plant saw on average for the year of 2023, 528. That's 95% capacity for the plant. So what we've established right now is the plant's capacity, the pumping capacity, and the gravity, sewer, and main trunks are at capacity or exceeding capacity at that point. As end of the presentation, if you want me to go back to any slide and just focus on that, I'll bring that back. We're good for questions.
Okay, thank you, Bander. Jason, do you have anything to add at this time?
No, I'll maybe provide more input based on, I'll maybe give Bander a break and I'll take the questions.
Okay. Thank you. Questions from council? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Lupp.
With the monitoring, the flow monitoring you had on the four pumping stations, for the four manholes going into that pumping station. Can you tell us when we had that big rain event at the end of December, that where the majority of that increase in flow was coming from?
Manhole number 1 on Shackleton. I don't have specifically the location for it, but it's the one on Shackleton that goes directly to that pumping station.
Can you pull the map up again, Vander?
Uh, I think the pumping station's down
That's it there, yeah.
here, this one right here. So there's a
Right there.
manhole. Or if I can zoom this in. It would be, this the pumping station, the manhole would be this one, I think. That goes directly to this pumping station. That's the last one. Because we had this manhole, if you see where I'm putting the cursor, we also had a manhole here that we're receiving flows from. We had the manhole that's receiving flows from here. And we also have a manhole also on the same road, but it's a separate manhole that's also
Yeah.
receiving sending flow. So there's 2 manholes on this road, one here and one here. And most of the flow is coming from this manhole, which I believe Jason is receiving the bulk of the flows from all of
Yep.
them.
Yep. That's right.
We know it's not coming out of the subdivision. That's about it.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation, guys. I guess I just want to clarify, you're saying we're at 97% capacity, and I want to make sure I understand the pipes and the wastewater treatment is typically run at 80% capacity. So are you saying we're at the 100% of the 80%, or we're at 100% of the 100%?
You're at 100% of the 100%.
Okay, just wanted to make sure I knew which one that was.
Yeah, so as Bander said, we sort of like a sanitary design collection sheet and our drainage area plan and design sheet. Those are desktop, like theoretical design calculations, but that's just how the consulting engineer in practice goes about designing a sewer. So you figure out a population, the sewer per capita, and you go about your design. It builds in a factor on, for an allowance for I&I, and that's basically how you design your sewer system, where ideally, at maximum, you want to design those sewers to 75-80% capacity. Otherwise, you get into hydraulic grade line issues, sewer backups, like sort of the things Dutton is dealing with right now. So even after so the first iteration, I presented a report to you guys months ago that we had reviewed all the CCTV. This is the go back to that map. That's the drainage area plan we had created, because as far as I know, when I got involved, a design sheet and drainage area plan for the entire existing municipality didn't exist. So once we created this, that's when I had shown there months ago that it appeared, based on our desktop analysis, that the majority of your downstream system was at 100 or 300% capacity, whereas I said, typically we'd like to see that at 80 as a maximum. Through the flow monitoring work we did, we were able to verify that your actual sewage per capita generation, based on the census population and then just doing the math, was significantly less. But even plugging that back into the design sheet and redoing all of the calculations, it made a nominal difference, essentially just showing that the same amount of sewers are over capacity. So furthermore, based on the rated capacity of those pumps currently in pump station number 1 and the peaks and average flows we've now confirmed 100% through flow monitoring, that pump station is likely so inundated with flows that its probably been very, very close to overflowing to the environment many, many times. Certainly a lot closer to, you know, for comfort than I would like to see. And essentially what's happening is the system is backing up sewage into the collection system because the capacity it's so over capacity that the pump just never stops. It just pumps 24/7. It maybe slightly works its way down in the wet well, but very quickly peaks again. And then it's the collection system that's actually being used right now as sort of your buffer. So I can't guarantee how close you are to, you know, sort of like a serious situation here, but very close. Like already, as you know, like I got involved when there was 2 or 3 sewage backups in your brand new subdivision. And clearly, like in that first, you know, the cover page of our presentation, you can see that's a sanitary manhole where the, you know, it's the elevation is literally like that's an existing valve chamber. And so if you can imagine the sewage in your system being a foot from the existing ground, it was no wonder that the Leach Street subdivision homes, some of them backed up because that sewer was put in based on a recommendation that was made to council in the past to eliminate a pump station at the north side of Leach, except there should have been like a further step 2 or a phase 2 to that program, in that the first step was installing the deep sewer on Leach Street to eliminate the upstream pump station. But that sewer currently goes into pump station 1 pretty much at the bottom of the wet well elevation. And you never generally want that. You want all your pipes going into a wet well, which then is significantly deeper and ideally has a minimum of 30 minutes based on MECP guidelines of operational time, such that if Archie got a high level alarm and it's like, oh crap, there's an emergency, he would have 30 minutes of storage time in the wet well to kind of get to the site, click on the emergency generator, or at least triage kind of what's happening. In this instance, like I said, because the upgrade hadn't been made to pump station 1, as soon as that system gets inundated, the Leach Street sewer backs up, and then because the hydraulic grade line is above the basement floor elevation, that's why to me it popped up right off. I said, well, this is the problem. That's why those basements flooded. What's also concerning, I guess, is we know that your the pump station, like Archie can pump at a faster flow rate if he ran both pumps, but the force main's too small, which is a limiting factor. So we know the force main is already throttling back the flows, and already your wastewater treatment plant is almost exceeding its rated capacity, average and peak. So like I said, this system start to finish is almost all entirely, like I said, under capacity significantly, in my opinion. We're working on a memo as part of our pump station design in which we have worked with staff to sort of determine what the pump station 1 would service in the future, such that it would provide a minimum of 20 years of growth or even more, possibly based on the growth rate. And I'll be able to present on that at a future council meeting if you like. That's coming to staff here in the next week or so. But what we propose is a future pump station eventually that would take all the future lands to the north. In that location where kind of Bander's kind of hovering is, or he'll draw a circle. So eventually, once all your future commercial lands and industrial lands, which are predominantly to the north, move forward, we're recommending that a new pump station would be built to take all of that flow. It would also pick up a bit of the flow in the existing system. So once that's built, that would alleviate, that would alleviate from there north coming to the south, which could solve your collection system issues. So I wouldn't recommend running out and upsizing all of your trunk sewers yet, because our plan and recommendation in the future is, you have your developers participate or front end a new pump station, which takes some flow out of the existing collection system going to pump station number 1. So we'll have that available for review next week, but in the meantime, I think council, I think to just put it bluntly, I think you're in a bit of a pickle here. I'm I'm very, very concerned about how much overcapacity this current system is. And in speaking with staff, I understand like that there's a handful of development that's already all been approved and even given building permits. So it's concerning to me, I guess, that when I asked the question initially, like, how do you guys go about checking development, sanitary capacity, if you've never had a design sheet and a drainage area plan? And I don't know, I didn't get really a clear answer. And I said, well, the first step then is we need to create this, which is what we've done. But building permits, in my opinion, should have never gone that far in terms of not only like approving development, providing building permits, because I feel like you potentially need to get legal counsel now, because like I don't really feel comfortable, and I don't think that you should either, with these any additional units coming online that had already have been approved. And I understand that there's a Sobeys, a PetSmart, a 33 unit old age condo home, like these are any little bit of drop in the bucket is a significant concern to me, because as Bender showed, like it was a very, very dry month, and even with a little bit of wet weather, it was like an instantaneous peak in your system. So that instantaneous peak is because your system's already operating at capacity. Like if your system was under capacity and there was potentially an I issue, like we would see the system absorb some of that. And also from our earlier work, when we reviewed all of the CCTV video reports and whatnot, like there was very, very few areas of concern that, was potentially, where we were concerned or consider, you're saying, there's a gusher, there's a cracked pipe, or, there's a storm connection into the sanitary. Like we didn't really find any of that. So, and that's when in that initial memo, we were suggesting that it might be more of a capacity thing, not I. I think the flow monitoring has now confirmed that. And it's a real issue here. As you're aware, like one positive is that the municipality and council had kicked off the EA there a year or so ago, because normally, we would recommend, normal practice would be to kind of look at doing an EA for your wastewater treatment plant when you hit about 80% of the capacity. So you might have been past that, but at least before we've done all this work, you were already looking at that. But I guess I should also mention, as part of the background work that we did, I was able to dig up a number of memos that, technical work that Dylan had done in the past. And, I came across a memo from 2010 where, unfortunately, the findings from that memo were very similar to what I'm saying today, 15 years later. And there's been a substantial amount of obviously development approved and gone forward in the last 15 years. I don't know what that number would be, but it puts things, I think, in staff in an awkward position, because I'm not sure that MECP is aware of that. Obviously, I, I have a duty to be ethical as an engineer, and, I don't want to beat around the bush. Like, I just want you to be aware that sort of these recommendations were made to council and staff 15 years ago. It's clear that most of those were ignored or nothing was done with that. And then just by chance, like I said, I came across some previous works that some past colleagues had done of mine, and I was like, well, geez, they were saying the same thing at the same time that we designed the pump station, on the north side of town. And, we had provided commentary at that time to, make some improvements. One of those improvements I think was changing where pump station 5 outletted so that it didn't continue directly to the south. It jogged over to the west, but that was just really a band-aid to buy time on that side of the collection system. It ultimately all still gets to pump station 1. So, that was only sort of the initial phase of a multi-phased recommendation to improve your sewer collection system. So, um, yeah, it I think it puts council and staff in a really awkward position. I'm just being honest here. I think that at this current moment, like I would not feel comfortable approving any more design, and I think you have to have a serious conversation with your legal counsel about pulling back on the development or building permits you've already issued, because clearly you're well over the limit of capacity. And um I recently just became aware of the draft CLI that you have in your hands, and there's a number of reports that are required that Dylan can help put those together, but it's even further going to bring to light these capacity issues because it talks about, do you have monitoring for your overflows? And it's just there's a lot of things that are requirements to get your formal CLI, um, that's going to further draw attention to the capacity of your system. And I know based on my initial discussions with MECP, I said, like, my honest opinion was, um, I feel like it's so close to the limit that, everybody flushes the toilet halftime Super Bowl, and like you could be in a position where you have multiple homes backing up in their basement. Like that's how close you are to the limit. And I guess from their perspective, their opinion was kind of like, well, that's terrible, that's not good, but our only concern is with the environment and overflows to the environment. At this point in time, in discussions with Archie staff, like we don't feel like there have been any overflows, but also like there's no monitoring equipment, like no way to guarantee with 100% certainty that there haven't been. But as a result of doing the CLI and the background reports, like that for sure is going to be something that will be part of the new pump station design. And I'm just very concerned, I guess, for the municipality that, if you get to that point where you have even one overflow, I think the cat's kind of going to be out of the bag, and the MECP is going to ask, like, "But what's been going on?" And we have a paper trail, I guess, of understanding this and knowing this now for many, many years, and it just doesn't appear that much has been done in terms of sort of taking our recommendations and very, very minimal, I guess, in terms of solving the problem, as opposed to a couple of band-aid fixes that sort of at the surface appear to provide more capacity and have, and then such a, you've permitted more development, but it's compounded the issue. And I mean, um, I think our high level estimate is in the 25 to $30 million range for the wastewater treatment plant upgrade, including the pump station and the force main, that would actually give you 20 years of growth. So that's, if you're wanting to be able to support growth in Dutton moving forward, like that is the capital investment that's going to be required. I feel like almost like you could spend half of that and the public would be, questioning what you have to show for that, because you would need to spend that just to get your system back operating at standard kind of acceptable levels based on industry standards because it's so over capacity. So it's a substantial investment that's going to be required to essentially get you to a point where your pump station and wastewater treatment plant are can handle your current flows, but also at least 20 years of growth. And we know that, like I said, I'm 100% confident based on the flow monitoring and stuff that we've done. Um, yeah, I don't know. I've been kind of talking for a little while here. Maybe I'll you know open it to some more questions or.
Thank you, Jason. That's very sobering. Um, Councilor Pemberton, did you have anything further?
No, he answered it.
Okay. You mentioned legal,
Yes.
and that pertains to building permits issued that, in your opinion, should be clawed back.
Well, this is the thing. Like I guess this is where I'm saying it's maybe a risk reward. This is a conversation with legal because obviously this is not an easy conversation to have with these developers. I mean, generally, the very first thing you have to do is you have to confirm that you have the availability for servicing downstream for a developer to come on board. Or if you don't, you have to tell them up front. And then it's like, if you want to move forward, we've got to work out a cost sharing or a front ending agreement and move forward that way. But what's happened here is like those checks and balances weren't done to the level that they should have been done. Development's been approved. So, development takes many, many years generally in the background, with developers buying farms and then getting in the growth boundary, setting money to the side, finding investors to finance the development. So, and that's just get to draft plan approval, say, or site plan approval. It sounds like they've now gone enough the next step further to provide detailed site plan drawings and subdivision of drawings such that they've got building permits, but no regard to the sanitary capacity. So all these developers, I'm assuming, have spent all this money, got all of this lined up, and now you're going to have to go to them and say, we don't think you can build anymore until we fix our stuff. And I'm saying it's not just a quick fix, like it's a 25, $30 million fix to if you really wanted to get to where you had a future 20 years of growth. And so that's where that's not my expertise, but I mean, I think that's why I would suggest, Mike, you're going to want to talk to legal counsel because the first thing a developer is going to want to do is, in my mind, is go into legal action against the municipality. So not great, but I mean, I think, I owe it to you guys to tell you the truth and how I feel it's going to kind of shake out. And I think you're in a really tough position here, to be honest, because like I said, this is not how development should go. And like you kind of have to follow a process, and you can't ignore. You can't say I'm going to look at the storm and water servicing available and just assume sanitary is okay, or vice versa. And again, I'm not questioning or pointing fingers at anybody. It's just it looks pretty clear that those checks and balances weren't completed, specifically for sure with the sanitary system. And then, like I said, that's sort of more of a recent thing with development control. But like I said, through our due diligence, I came across some work and memos that we had created when we had done the North Pump Station design there that essentially drew the same conclusions in 2010 as we're finding right now.
Okay. I think the first thing we got to do is see where we're at and what permits and how far down the road we are. And I don't have that information right here. What's been approved other than the Lions and the commercial.
I'm not sure, but like my point is if there's more, like even the 33, this and the commercial would be enough is concerning to me. Like you know, like it's very, very odd to open a sanitary manhole and see the flow, within a couple of feet of the surface. And essentially that's what we saw as soon as we opened the valve chamber, you know, completely covered, it was alarming, I guess. And so I guess it was a tough report to provide to council the first time, where we thought that it might be a capacity issue as opposed to I. That's not the norm, I guess, obviously, where, it would be more generally, we would find an I issue or something like that. But this, I think, clearly is more of a systemic issue where it's capacity. It's the system is just, it was installed in the 60s. Developments proceeded with essentially no upgrades or changes to the system, and it's more than tapped out.
Councillor Dreyfus, did you have a comment or question?
Thank you for the report, Jason. It's hard to swallow, to be honest with you. It's frustrating to me that that this could be something that was brought to the table 15 years ago. And I can understand it to a certain point, but the situation we're in now is dire, and it's it's for an individual counselor that stands for nothing but economic development. That just puts a cap on things pretty seriously, and especially with a municipality that needs to increase revenue. That's the other side of it. But I guess to mitigate the issue, and I don't even know if this is possible, but I guess to eliminate risk, do we pump it? Do we haul it away, or is there something we can do to take risk off the municipality?
Um, that's a tough question. There's no easy answer. I think for sure, like building, I don't think there's any simple cost-effective solution where you can get away with even a million or 2 million as opposed to the, 25 to 30. Like, you absolutely need a bigger pump station right now to service what you have. And if you're going to rebuild the pump station, you might as rebuild the wet well such that it's good for 20 years of growth or more. We'll just put in pumps that are sized for right now on VFDs that could be ramped up. We know right now that the existing force main is undersized. So, I mean, it has to be replaced. I mean, I honestly don't, I'll think about this, but I honestly don't know that there's like a practical or cost-effective way to reduce your risk at this point in time, because as soon as you get into septage hauling or trucking out of that wet well, I mean, that gets crazy expensive in a hurry. Um, there, again, like there could be a way to potentially minimize the initial phase of what you do with your wastewater treatment plant. But again, if you can't kind of expand your plant for growth, you're still going to have to put the pump station in, and sort of, again, it's like the public's going to be saying, well, didn't you guys just spend like $10 million and we still can't grow? Because that's kind of what it would be. You'd have the pump station and force main part of the system good, and we could maybe make some tweaks to just make it work, but it would just, be eliminating your risk, and you wouldn't be able to, move forward with any growth. And that might, I don't know, that might be somehow figuring out how to utilize your existing lagoon or expanding. That's like very non sort of traditional. And yeah, there's not an easy answer. I don't know, Baker, do you have thoughts?
Well, I have a thought. That's one way we can do an assessment of the existing wastewater treatment plant, check all the equipment, all the processes in there, and see if we can re-rate the plant slightly to a slightly higher flow rate into it. And then figure out if there's a small upgrade that can be done in that plant that will allow you to give that little bit of flow that will handle the pumping station that we have to put in there. No matter what, the pumping station and enforcement have to be put in there. But now we have slightly more flows coming to this wastewater treatment plant that we already seen is reaching 95% capacity. So, but this 95% is based on that average of the 554. I think that's the number that was in there. If the plant is re-rated to slightly higher based on existing equipment and we have a way of running the plant in a different way, like we have senior process engineers that specialize only in that. They look at the plant, they'll see what can be done slightly different. There might be a different pump that we can upgrade, a different method of doing recirculation, but without adding any additional equipment. We may have to add something, but not much. But I will give you a little bit of I don't like saying that it'll probably be a Band-Aid solution for a little bit, just to
Yeah.
give it a little bit more flow, but we already know that you have to upgrade the plant at a slightly over 80%. Whatever solution we'll give you, will give you maybe a 5% increase in flow. So
And
at least
like,
we'll give you a few years, possibly, maybe a little bit of development, possibly.
but that's after they put the pump station
Yeah.
in force main, and that's like
100%.
$8 million right there. Like
Yes.
you're like step one is like that project, and that's a $8 million price tag. And then
I
you're
don't think it's
talking
eight,
about
that's the
what's that?
three, I think that's the 3 to 5, right? The 8 million was a different.
Oh, sorry, 3 to 5.
Yeah,
Yes,
3
3
to
to
5
3
for
to
that
5 for
pumping
this
station,
project.
yeah, and the
But
force
still,
main.
so like
Yeah.
it's not an insignificant amount of money just to do the first step, and then even to maybe squeeze out a few hundred extra cubic meters by re-rating your plant. Like you easily could be into a few $100,000 or a $500,000 just in like
Yeah.
minor equipment upgrades. That's the problem, is like there's just not going to be enough juice to squeeze out of the, out of the lemon here. It's
The other thing I'm thinking of this, I'm just thinking out loud here for thing. Anything new that you put in, maybe the developer built a temporary septic system on that land for it. Like, and that's, I don't know if that's something that can be done, but at least don't bring anything else into the system. Especially for major things, let's say for any of your commercial or industrial, they can have
yeah,
a
but
system on there. I don't know, like these are things to think
it's
of.
yeah, like these, like it's an option, but like, yeah, none of them are going to be ideal. I mean,
No.
because like that would reduce the risk to staff, but then the developer's going to come back and say, well, you already gave me my building permit. Sure, we'll discharge into a temporary whatever, and you got to pump it and bring it directly to the plant until such time you upgrade the plant, but we want the municipality to pay for that.
Yeah.
Right? Because they had already given them a building permit, or so like it's, I don't know, like there's just unfortunately like not a, hit the easy button and we can kind of get out of this jam as cost effective as possible. Like unfortunately, it's going to cost major capital projects to get your capital dollars to get your system up to really where it should be based on current flows. And like I said, if you want to consider growth and have that sanitary capacity to deal with it for the next 20 years, you're almost doubling that capital budget to improve your plant.
Okay, thank you. And we did apply twice. As you well know, Jason, you helped us, or you put the application together,
Yep.
turned down twice, but we did apply for what you've been talking about, that number.
Yes, the housing enabling fund. So like we did apply to the first intake, got feedback. We applied to the second one. Honestly, it's a bit of a head scratcher. Like as I tell you guys the story, how I can't even imagine how the MECP said that we scored low on health and like health concerns. Like I would think that this project would be at the top, but they kind of said we scored really well on technical merit and a few of the others. And I think it was public health and safety was sort of where they said we scored lower, I guess. And
I
it
think
blows
it's
my
because
mind how they came to that conclusion, I guess.
I think there's a part in that form that says how many overflows and for how long and what is that. We had none. We had no record of any overflow. If we had anything in there, that would have just said, "Oh, it's health concern. We need to do it." I think that's probably where it was.
So do we need to have an overflow to improve our application?
Then you have a problem with MECP
Does
more
that
than
make any
the
sense?
funder. Yeah.
No, Mayor, because it maybe makes sense from a funding perspective, but then MECP will be all over you with orders and fines and, I don't think you want them on your bad side. It can get real serious real quick.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Drew.
This additional information, do you think that would strengthen our application going forward?
Like we can tell, it's hard to say. Like I think that we
Uh,
have better certainty now. The problem with these funding applications is a lot of the time you get a box with 200 characters to tell your story.
Exactly.
It's really difficult to do that sometimes. And like Bander said, like if we were able to check a box that said, yeah, you guys have had 4 overflows in the last year, like unfortunately, maybe that is one of the trigger points that, you'd get high marks in that category, but you'd be in the crap with MECPE, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
now that funding has closed. I have talked to Tracy about, so there's a federal fund, the Canadian Housing Infrastructure Fund that's out. They're accepting applications till the end of May. The only issue with that one is the Hughes funding was 73 cent dollars, I believe. This one is only 50 cent dollars. So, it was much more, even though there's, financial concern here, it was going to be much more palatable at 27%, the municipality having to provide 27%. This other fund, it's 50%. But I just heard about another one, HSWS, which is also up to a max of 73%. I'm just not sure. I'd talked to Tracy. We got to confirm whether or not it's applicable to wastewater as well. I know it's applicable to water projects, water infrastructure, but yeah, like we can continue to support you obviously in any funding applications that come out, but like I said, I think you're in a real dire situation here in the meantime, because you've probably got those, I don't know, but like potentially you got, I don't know where the Lions Club is with that 33 unit, but if they're gearing up to go to construction, I mean, it it would cause me to be restless at night, you know what I mean? Like already. So, like while we can continue to help and assist looking for funding opportunities, I think you have some decisions to make like really quickly, and likely getting legal counsel and trying to decide how you approach this in the short term, and most specifically with anybody who hasn't built yet but's already received building permits.
Okay, just a comment. The first round of funding, we were not successful. And I was at the Southolds thing where they were successful. And I was told it was the bang for the buck, the number of houses for the dollars the province was putting out. But the minister, Surma, was there, and she said, we recognize a problem here that small municipalities are basically excluded from competing in that they would make those adjustments on round 2. We were unsuccessful on round 2, and the explanation is basically the same. So there has been no change. Now, MPP Flack has said there is more coming. So when and how much, we don't know. But I think that's really our only option. We can't even borrow that kind of money.
Yep. No, I understand, Mayor. I mean, we were helping another small, similarly sized, rural municipality. I would say their case was just as strong. They were not successful. And then we had my third client that I was involved with, was up closer to the GTA, and they got 10.5 million bucks. So, I don't know. It's tough to, like I said, I kind of scratch my head because some of these projects, like I don't know that there could be a more, perfect project based on the requirements and what the funding's trying to fund, and then it says like, you know, we didn't meet the mark, so I don't know.
I guess my question, Jason, is, could you put together a price estimate to look at the plant to see if there is any more capacity there? I mean, if we can get a little bit more without spending a huge amount of money, it may be something to look at.
Yes, I can ask, what I probably would do is talk to Bander and some of our senior process engineers, and based on having a look at just knowing what your system is, even at a high level, like, you know, would it be worth, even worse, you guys paying us to do that? Because, you know, I would think based on their expertise at a high level, they should be able to kind of say, based on this technology, like it's our professional opinion that like you're gonna, you know, spend this money and you might get 5% at the best. And then based on that, I don't know if you're any further ahead to spend that money and do that. I don't think so. Like you're probably better off to halt development, you know, put all your eggs in a basket, start focusing on any funding opportunity available, and sort of, you know, pushing it from the political side, MPP, like those sorts of things.
We'll have to, one thing is, we may have to do a plant capacity assessment anyway to appease the MECP, because the MECP might say, all right, you're putting this larger pumping station, you're gonna end up pumping more flows into the plant, that we know the plant can't accept it. What are you gonna do at the plant? So maybe that might be something that we may have to do an assessment on anyway. It will take some time to look at every piece of
Yeah.
equipment. We may have to look at an option of bypassing some flows directly to the lagoon. We may have to reinstate that second clarifier and upgrade the second clarifier and add it for additional storage. That's something we could look at. I can talk to our senior guy and maybe we can get a cost estimate for that one, or at least we can do like a little scope change to the existing project and tell you what that is. And you guys, if you want to do it, you can do that.
I think it's worthwhile having a look at it, Banner. You've been to our plant,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you have a kind of a high level look at it right now, and you understand what we're dealing with, and if there's something, we don't expect it, but
Yeah, it's just the time we'll take to look at everything and calculate and do models for it. It's different than I can just take a look. I can tell you might get 2 to 3%, but an
Yeah.
actual assessment might tell you, oh, you got, instead of doing a 558, you might get 720. So if you do this, so that 720 might help you now take it from the 95, maybe down to the 80 or the 82. That'll give you a little bit more capacity, but we still don't recommend you add a lot of development, but it will give you a little bit of time to get to that point. So it might give you a few years for that. But you may have to still find the money to do that upgrade based on that assessment, which is just a lot less than $30 million, because you're not building all these additional buildings and buying millions of dollars of equipment. But that's something I'm gonna have to talk to our senior guy that does plant assessment and re-rating.
okay,
Get
thank you,
maybe something
Bander.
next week, yeah.
Thank you. I'll continue with the political angle. That's all we can do. And we'll be prepared when the next round comes around to get that application in and do the best we can. I don't see any other options. So anything
Yep.
further from council? You scared the hell out of us.
Sorry about that, but I just, you know, you got to get it straight. I had to give it to you straight. It is what it is. I know it's not a pretty picture, but you know, this is serious, and you know, I think you guys have to be, you know, as informed as you can to make decisions going forward. And this is not something that I would, you know, brush under the rug and say this isn't really a big deal. Like this is a big deal.
Okay, message received.
Okay.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Bander, and we'll be
Thank
in
you.
touch.
Okay. Thanks very
Thank-
much.
Have a
Enjoy
good
your
night.
evening. Take care.
Anybody need to go take a pill or something? Okay, let's march through this. Item 7 is correspondence. the town of Halton Hills, and they're on this sovereignty of Canada. Everybody read that? Any comments or support? Certainly the topic of discussion. No comments from council? Clerk Tara, please.
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Drillard, that the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich supports the resolution from the town of Halton Hills rejecting any efforts by President Trump or any others to undermine the sovereignty of Canada and to stand united with the Ontario Premier Doug Ford and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau for a Canada that remains strong, free, independent, and characterized by peace, order, and good government. And that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Rob Flack, MPP, Karen Vecchio, MP, and the town of Halton Hills. All in favor? And that's carried.
Item number 2, Peterborough County proposed US tariffs on Canadian goods. Any discussion on that one? Clerk Tara, please.
Moved by Drillard, seconded by Dreyfus, that the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich supports the resolution from the county of Peterborough supporting the provincial and federal governments on the measures they have put in place in response to the proposed US tariffs on Canadian goods and ask that they take any and all measures to protect the interests of Ontario in any upcoming trade negotiations, and that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Rob Flack, MPP, Karen Vecchio, MP, and the county of Peterborough. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. The consent agenda. Let's do the first 4. Economic Development, Elgin County Council highlights, Town of Coburg, and Elgin Middlesex Federation of Agriculture. Anyone wish to discuss any one of them? See nothing. The committee reports. Dutton Dunwich Economic Development Committee and the Tri-County Water Board. All clear on that one. The staff monthly reports. Is there? Let's do the manager roads and facilities. Everybody's good with that one? Okay. Water operations monthly report. Okay,
One question, sorry.
Sure.
Just a question on the meters. Are they all finished now, or the new meters installation? They were been working on them for a couple of years.
my understanding is they're close, but they're not quite there yet. Tracy, do you know for sure?
No, they're not.
They're not done yet.
Just a question.
Yeah. The wastewater report. I think we've talked enough wastewater. Okay. Drainage superintendent report. Recreation monthly activity report.
I'll just make a comment on the recreation report. Just an update on the committee. We have, I know, 8 people, I think, on the committee. And I posed a question to them last meeting as to how often they felt we should meet and to what our goal should be. And they all felt very comfortable with doing 4 meetings a year, and that was a unanimous decision based on the committee. They feel that we're doing enough work to warrant the activity going on in the recreation itself. And again, we're doing the community kindness, and we're doing the Canada Day, and they're doing the Thursday night programs, and have engaged a lot of different people in the community to participate. So I think we're in the right direction, and it's I think all in all, Charlotte's doing a great job. So I just wanted to give her a shout out as well. So
Thank you for that. Planning activity report. Any discussion on that one? Okay. Clerk monthly activity report. Anything further to add? No, okay. All looks good. And the CAO Treasurer Monthly Activity Report. Okay. We're gonna do it all with one resolution. Clerk Tara, please.
So I'm just gonna go back and moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Loveland, that relevant correspondence was reviewed. All in favor? And that's carried. And then moved by Loveland, seconded by Pemberton, that the items on the consent agenda be approved. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. Okay, Dutton Dunwich Cultural Heritage Committee member appointments. Under other staff reports. Do you want to speak to that, Councillor Dreyfus?
At our last Heritage meeting, we reviewed applications, and these are the names that were put forth, and the committee is recommending to council that we accept these individuals as participants in the Heritage Committee. That will give us quorum to move forward with the necessary projects that we have on the table, so.
Okay. Do we have a resolution to that effect? Any questions from council first? Go ahead, Tara.
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Drewart, that the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the archival records and clerk's assistant titled Dutton Dunwich Cultural Heritage Committee Member Appointments dated February 12th, 2025 for information, and that council appoints Jean Louise Ford, Carrie Matos, and Elaine Scott to the Cultural Heritage Committee. All in favor? And that's carried.
Under unfinished business, and this one.
You don't have it anymore?
I'm fine with deferring it until the 26th. I guess my only question is could my comments and the answers to those comments be shared with the remainder of or the rest of council, so just so that they may have answered some of their questions as well. I have some major concerns with this agreement, but if we're deferring it till the 26th, maybe we'll have some more answers then. And I think I have enough concerns that I think in the deferral, we can defer it to the 26th, but we also may want to start looking at adding at alternative solutions other than county planning.
I too have some concerns, and I guess when I look at this agreement, if I was a planning consultant and I came out to municipality and said, I'll do your planning for you for $126,000. I think I'd get laughed out of the council chambers. I think we need to really look at some different costing arrangements there. Maybe it's a fee for service with an upper end. I mean, if development's going to slow down, we may not have quite as much work, but once we lock it in at that 128 or 26,000, we're stuck with it. So that was my biggest concern. Maybe that was Corey's as well, but
It's kind of a, depending on the work we get, and the same with the revenue side of it. So it's a bit of a moving target. There is provisions in here for adjustments at the year ends. I will also add that Tracy has given her notice. It was going to be this meeting, but she will stick around till the 26th. So that's where we're at.
I know when he did that presentation, he did say there was some different ways of costing it out. So I think that's something we should look at as part of the next agreement. I'm not saying it's a bad deal. I'm just saying maybe we.
And don't take my comments the wrong way, please. I'm not against the county offering this service. I'm 100% for it under the right model. I just don't think the model they're presenting is a fair model for the service. I mean, I'd be curious, has it ever been brought to county council to just put it on the levy and have it as a county offered service? Have they looked into a fee for service for the municipalities, more like a consulting thing? Like, so, yeah, I there's lots of questions, and I want to make sure everybody understands, I'm not opposed to county planning. I'm opposed to the way they presented it in the agreement, because that's not totally the way they presented it in their presentation.
Yeah, it's been a topic of conversation at the county. And the levy has been talked about. This is kind of a work in progress, I guess is what I could say. If we sign, we would be the first ones. I talked to Mayor Jones, and he's quite sure that Southold will go that way. That would be the second one. What they would do as the workload increases, they would bring on additional help. So it's kind of a skeleton crew right there now. They have the senior planner and they have Matt, and I believe they have hired a junior planner. As far as to get to the levy, my understanding from Matt Vaughn, that would be his choice. But we have to get to a certain level of involvement from the lower tiers. And we may never get that way, because there are some lower tiers that probably won't go this route. And other upper tiers, I understand Oxford, they have everybody on board and it's on the levy. So I think it's that's the ultimate goal. It's not going to happen right away. Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess in saying alternative solutions, I guess maybe that would be a good question. Is what do we pay Tracy right now for consulting fees? Because essentially she acts as a consultant. And I know she gives us a really good rate, and we're probably never gonna find somebody at that rate again. And I appreciate her for that, but it would be interesting to know, like, I mean, if we're gonna be paying a consultant $80,000 or $90,000 a year, then maybe this isn't such a bad deal. But if we're going to be paying a consultant $50,000 or $60,000 a year, this really isn't a great deal when we're looking at all the other things we have to spend money on. So I think, to be fiscally responsible, I think we need to look at those options and make sure we're going in the right direction that's best for the municipality.
You're 100% right. We'll never find a deal like we've got with Tracy. I don't know all the details, but I do know it's a very good deal. If you look at the estimates, and these are estimates, we don't know what the workload is. We don't know how many zoning bylaw amendments, anything. We don't know the number of that. It's kind of a projection, and they've done that. Same with the expense side of it. But if you look at it right now with the estimates, it's pretty well cost neutral. We have the $129,539 fee, and we have projected $133,500 revenue.
But my understanding of that is that's when we're at 100% fees. That's not right now. Right now, the fees would be half of that or less. And some of the work, like one of my questions was, would it include housekeeping amendments? No, that would be an extra $30,000. So it's not getting the service that we're getting right now. And I understand we're gonna have to pay more. I don't disagree, our fees need to be adjusted. Everybody's fees in the whole county are low. But again, I'm just concerned that maybe the county has priced themselves so high that it's not it's just not fair to say that you couldn't hire a full-time planner for $160,000 a year to do your planning or less. I just, that concerns me. That's my big concern is the cost and the level of service they're offering versus the level of service we could get if we were able to obtain our own planner. So that's my major concern.
I don't know what West Albany did. I think they stayed, maybe I heard through the grapevine, they may stay with the consultant they've got hired. But that's another option. We can go out and see who's out there and get some prices on that. At least with a consultant, you have some control over the amount of work and what you do. Like, if you're gonna do a major upgrade on your zoning bylaw, then yeah, you're gonna put a little more money in your budget. So maybe we can tweak this somehow to make it a little more feasible for us. I guess maybe not feasible, but a little easier to understand the stomach. But
Okay, what do we require from Matt? Oh, go ahead, Councillor Drew.
I just want to circle back. I would really like to have the copy of the questions and answers that Corey sent out. So if we could have that distributed so we all have the same information and answers, that would be very helpful.
Okay, I haven't seen them, but
Tracy has them.
okay,
Tracy has
We'll
them.
get-
She got the answers for me, so I appreciate that.
okay, we will get them to council and give it some thought and reach out if there are further clarifications or questions or whatever. But ultimately, we have to make a decision here.
Yeah, sorry. Matt did describe in one of his answers that if there's a discrepancy of service provided, what is charged, the fee will be adjusted in the following year. So I think they are trying to figure out, all right, if they've overcharged, they'll give us some back the next year. I would just like a lot more clarity on how that's gonna happen, because it's really not clear in the agreement. How much, where, when,
How it's gonna go.
and I gotta be perfectly honest, I agree with Ken. I can't see any one of us giving a blanket fee to somebody to come in and it's a poor cut trees down. Well, yeah, I'm gonna charge you $100,000 a year to cut trees down, but I'm not gonna cut one tree down because I didn't have to this year. But we still gotta pay them $100,000. Well, that just doesn't seem right to me. So we just have to find a better way to present it so that we understand what we're getting for our services.
Nope, that is exactly what I was thinking. Just eliminate what they don't like, eliminate what we don't like, just put the meat and potatoes in there and be done with it.
And
Release the
send it.
statement. Yeah. I'm sure that we can come to an agreement instead of fighting over those small details. I mean, people know what they know, and if they have questions, they can ask. I think we've been pretty transparent through the process, and we have let people know that we are subsidizing by paying for the staff at the medical center. So I just think simple on both of our sides, and it makes it it makes it easy and hard
Okay.
feelings are done.
I didn't like this whole thing, but the bottom line is we gotta lower the temperature around here. And I don't want to get in a spitting competition. Nobody wins in that one. So I'm prepared to, you know, if they want to point me out, fine, eat a little crow and let's just put out we have an agreement for 2 years and end it right there.
I had sent back and I think I replied only to Tara because I felt the same way. That Tara had made some suggestions and edits. I liked the edits that she had made and think that's really the one that could be sent out. It accommodates both what we wanted and what they wanted. We had to give up a little bit, they had to give up a little bit in the press release. So I really like the way Tara rewrote it and think that one should suffice for everybody.
Okay, let's not beat this thing up too much. Move forward. So Tara and I are gonna sit down, put something out, and it's from the municipality. I'm not even gonna put my comments in it. The municipality has come to an agreement, a 2-year agreement with the doctors, and pretty much that's it. Okay? All right, let's get that one over with. This is. Just gotta figure out where I'm at here. Okay, down to 12 announcements. Proposed bylaws. I think we all want to get out of here because the weather's bad. Item 13, Clerk Tara, please.
Moved by Drulard, seconded by Dryfout, that bylaw 2025-10, being a bylaw to establish various fees and tariffs for services provided by the municipality of Dutton Dunwich, be read a first, second, and third time and passed. All in favor? And that's carried.
My mistake here. I did have another announcement. The hiring committee met today. Don Shropshire, Blaine Parkin, and myself right here. And I think we have a plan going forward, and a number of names. And the reason I reached out to Don, he's been in this business forever, and he has some thoughts as well, some names. So Don's going to do the reaching out to some experienced. They're retired, but they may come back and work for 3 months or whatever. So that's where that's at. I also did have a conversation with our deputy treasurer, James. And we can deal with that at the next meeting as well. So if there's any questions on that, we've started the process. That's all we can do at this point.
Yep.
Okay, and I thank Blaine and Dawn for supporting Dutton Dunwich in this endeavor. Okay. I promised Councillor Pemberton that would be on the agenda soon. Item 14, Clerk Tara.
Moved by Dryfout, seconded by Loveland, that bylaw 2025-11, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the municipal council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich, be read a first, second, and third time and passed. All in favor? And that's carried.
Next meeting, so do your homework on this county agreement and please reach out. I can meet with Matt at any time. And if there's clarification or something. Everybody knows my thoughts on this. I would like to see a county planning service. And I make no bones about that. Okay, Clerk Tara, please.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Pemberton, that the meeting of the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich closes at 6:28 PM. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, not bad, an hour and a half.
I hope I have time.